Why is it there are so many large institutions out there that are funded by the government, heftily funded, that are failing to make a real difference in the neurodivergent community? Could it be that actually what we need is a grassroots movement? Small charities, independent charities, run by people who are themselves neurodivergent, who are making a real difference and wanting to see the lives of neurodivergent people improved and accepted. Here to get into that more deeply, I have Rebecca and Archie from Awesome Archie. Rebecca, Archie, how are you guys doing?
Thank you for having us.
You're more than welcome. I'm going to focus first of all with Archie, because I know Archie only has a few minutes that he'll be able to sort of talk with us. But first of all, I guess, really, what is Awesome Archie all about?
It's a non-profit charity thing. Sometimes we visit schools and do like presentations to say that if you're neurodivergent, and even if you're not, you should be proud of who you are and not worry about anything that affects you, like who you are.
I know that this all stemmed from that you hit lockdown and your life changed, but actually for the better, for what you were going through. What were you experiencing in mainstream school?
It just felt like everything was just fast paced. I had to wake up early in the morning so we weren't late, and I had to get ready and all pack my bag. And when I got there, it was just instant lesson, no settling in. The moment you put your bag away, it's just a lesson. And it was all very fast paced and difficult.
And of course, having to wear a uniform.
Yeah, we discussed that. And the uniform thing's a big issue, I think.
Massive for him. The whole shirt and tie, there was no leeway there. Not ideal.
No, and it's funny that we're in a world now where most people can go fairly casually to work. So why are we still pushing that?
Absolutely.
I think it helps in many ways, but let's have some support in actually providing clothes that are comfortable and fitting for anybody, regardless of neurotype.
Yeah.
So what happened with lockdown? What changed for you, Archie?
Well, it was much better for learning for me because it was at home, and I feel much better at home than I do at school because it's where I always am and it's a safe place. With the breaks, I could just go upstairs to my room, chill out until the next thing we had to do.
And we were less time constraint wise, we were less structured. For example, like you had to do the maths, the English, the core subjects that mean you're following the curriculum. We actually didn't do an hour on this, an hour on that. And we would do, for us, let's do maths quickly, because maths is not Archie's strength and it's certainly not his love. Wouldn't we? Get that one out of the way. Quick, let's get it done. Quick. Then we would focus on what he loves, which is writing. Our lockdown ended up with us combining. We wrote 4 books, which they are all, of course, they're autism themed, neurodiverse themed, and we donate these to schools and put them in their library. They're currently in Christchurch Library as well. Oh, that one's upside down. Sorry. They're basically all about a little boy called Archie and some of the things that he imagines, a lot of the things that he struggles, some of the things that help him get through the day. And actually that we found that far more useful. He couldn't have done that if he was at school. He wouldn't have been given the opportunity because these took months and they took lots of intense lessons. But because they were lessons that he loved in a subject he was enjoying, he excelled at it. And it's proven to be helpful to so many, I
love what you're doing, Archie, is you're putting stuff out into the world that helps people understand and be more inclusive, and we'll talk about inclusivity in a bit, but I think that it's remarkable what you're doing, and it comes back to what we've discussed so many times, and it's that thing that when you look at the world, that diversity is so important. And when we're focusing on strength,
I spend my life online now because obviously being most of what we do at Awesome Archie is content creating, so it reaches a wider audience, right? Because although I volunteer in schools and we do in-school assemblies, etc., the quickest way for me to get this message across and the support to multiple people is, of course, online, isn't it? It's free, it's done at our own pace. And as I was scrolling through, Jimmy Carr popped up, and it was him talking on a radio about how he's frustrated with schools. And I thought, well, I've never heard him talk about schools, but he was just saying that all-rounders, what is this obsession with schools making sure that 100% of the class leave school as all-rounders?
I think school teaches us maybe the wrong lesson. School teaches us a lesson about mediocrity and being all-rounders. And yet we live in a world that does not reward all-rounders. Who gives a fuck about all-rounders? If you get a D in physics and you get an A in English, I say just go to English lessons, because we're going to get you up to a C grade in physics. I'll tell you what the world doesn't need: someone who's shit at physics. Still shit at physics.
We want specialists, we want enthusiasts, we want professors, we want doctors, we want lawyers, we want artists, musicians. Like you say, what would the world be like if everyone just ended up average at everything? Like, that's not a world you want to live in, is it?
That's just it. And I mean, Archie, you've got this talent with writing, reading, with literature. From what you were saying before to me, you're a bit of a grammar enthusiast like myself.
He is the grammar police.
Well, I love that, and it's so important. But you've got a strength there that you wouldn't have been able to cultivate if you'd remained in a system that was simply going, well, you're not strong enough on maths yet, let's work on that. How's it been for you? I mean, you must have a real sense of pride in what you've been able to achieve.
It does make me quite proud. I don't really think about it all the time, but when I remember that, like, because when I see some other people in my class struggle, it doesn't make me think I'm better than them, but it makes me remember the fact that I'm good at English.
Do you feel lucky?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I have to say, and I know all parents think their children are awesome. Of course they do. They're all awesome. But when you've seen, and you must be the same with your family, when you see your children overcome so much, I mean, even just to get him out the door, sometimes he's overcome a battle. And that's something that most neurotypical people won't face. Of course they won't. They don't need to. And what he's doing is using his struggles, using his challenges, but I think most importantly, using his gifts to say to other people, yeah, this area of your life is going to be a bit tough. And yeah, there are some things, you know, for example, this kind of thing. This is really tough. This is really challenging for Archie, but you can do it. He's doing it. He's sat here doing it right now. And that's proof that with the right kind of support and self-belief, you can do it.
Do you think, Archie, and I'm going to make this my last question for you because I know that you're going to want to go and have some recuperation time. Do you feel like accomplishing what you've accomplished with this so far, do you feel like it's given you a voice that you didn't otherwise have?
Sort of, yeah.
So how does Awesome Archie mean that? How are you able to help others through Awesome Archie? How are you able to speak about how you feel and your differences?
Well, because we do Awesome Archie, people begin to understand about differences more, so it's easier to explain them, and sometimes they're more open about listening to it because they've heard it somewhere, so they want to know more about it. And
we've been really lucky. We're affiliated with the Dorset Children's Foundation and Autism Unlimited, which are the two kind of leading autism disability kind of support networks, charities within the South. And Archie was asked to take part in the first ever animation for autism support. And it was about a story about him going to the dentist and the things that he finds challenging, which I didn't know, even as his mum. You know, you go into the dentist, it smells funny because everything's so sterile, right? The drills, somebody with their fingers in your mouth, gross, right? And for me, I mean, I'm not neurotypical. I've got ADHD, but I don't struggle with that. I'm okay with that kind of thing. I hadn't been able to understand why preparation for a dental visit, it was going to be tougher for a child like Archie. And so they used that as an example. And they still now get Archie to interview. They're so brilliant at what they do. They take him into a beautiful room with the therapy dog, don't they? He sits with the therapy dog and they have it recording and they'll ask him questions. At the moment, they're talking about myth busting, autism like stereotypes, bashing them out, right? And he was talking about stimming. So Archie has a diagnosis of motor tics, which looks like as time goes on, he'll get a diagnosis of Tourette's because he has got that verbal tic as well. Do you want to explain to Duncan about your stimming and what you do for your sort of relaxation?
Something I do is, I call it the backwards cough because it's a cough for backwards, because I clear my throat, but like breathing in.
Almost
I
like Johnny Carr's laugh.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, there's things like that. That's what I'm proud of, because he has got that confidence to do something that other people may perceive as weird or unusual. And sometimes when he's stimming a lot, because it's quite, I can't do it. Forgive me. It's like, and then he'll sort of start his facial twitching, won't you? Sometimes people do stare, but Archie's okay with me saying, don't worry, he's fine. And I say he's got Tourette's because it's easier for other people to understand. Yeah. So I just say, no, don't worry about it. He's got Tourette's. That's it. End of. He's given us that permission to say, yeah, you can look. I understand that this is perhaps unusual for you, but this isn't unusual for us. This is our life. And we want to share that, you know?
I love the fact that you've been empowered. It's your permission that these things are given with. And I think that gets me so much. Actually, I'm going to let you go because I want to push you beyond your limits. But I really want to thank you for joining us and for giving your feedback and how this has been for you. It means a lot. Thank you, man.
Oh, thank you, dude. Well done. You can go off and goodbye.
So, Rebecca, I'm going to ask you, I mean, awesome, Archie. How did it start for you? What was the genesis of this?
Oh, this is such a strange story because it happened accidentally. We're now regarded as quite a large organisation in the South, which, as I say it still feels weird. So 3 years ago, when the lockdown happened, we were, as parents, we were in a position of, I mean, it wasn't ideal, right? Archie was, I don't mind sharing, he was very unhappy. Weight had dropped dramatically. With his autism, one of the things that we notice is when he's anxious or sad or upset, he'll stim a lot more. He won't eat. And it's not won't eat a lot, you know, he won't eat. That's it, end of. We ended up being in hospital quite a lot. We were very close to being admitted on a drip. That, you know, nightmare. So when the lockdown happened, whereas most parents were sort of frantic and a bit miserable about it, it opened this door of like, it was a whole new world. Archie was learning the same as everybody else. So we were still trying to stick to the curriculum, but we were doing it at our pace and at our speed in our time. And so I contacted my parent carer mates online and said, look, every morning I've got 4 kids, I've got 4 different lessons going on. You want to join on a Zoom? And let me just say, we didn't do any major preparations. We literally put the computer on the side, press play, say good morning. I was in my pajamas. It's all very awful. I mean, thank God they weren't recorded. But it meant that there was a little community, and this went on. It got the parents talking. And because I have a background, I'm a qualified SENDCO, a background in one-to-one TAing, it made me feel quite angry, actually, about how the system is failing children like Archie. And I don't use that term lightly because I'm not a politician. I don't know enough about any of that to get into it. But it just feels like every parent carer that I've ever spoken to has just sort of said, oh, we're not getting this, or we can't find this, and I thought, no, that's it. So I gave up my job as a TA. I didn't go back after that. And I've dedicated my life to doing this. And it's for me personally, my mental health, my parenting, everything, this has been the most phenomenal journey. And I love every day. I work 9 to 5 for free and I love it. I wouldn't change it for the world.
Something I've talked about, I think you go through the 5 stages of grief when you
100%.
Certainly I did. What I often say is that when you reach the acceptance part, I think there's another step for parents and carers who have neurodivergent kids. I think it's advocacy and celebration. And I think you're really reflecting that. I think we all take up this mantle because we don't want to see others go through the same struggles we've been through.
No, absolutely.
And you're tying in your own experiences, lived experience, with your knowledge of education from your, being a qualified SENDCO. What's the reaction been when you've gone into schools and organisations? I mean, what are some of the schools and organisations you work with to start with?
There are loads, which I'm really, really proud of. The schools that I work with are always schools that approach me. So we never, ever approach anybody. We don't believe that that's our place. People know who we are and where we are, and if they're ready to hear what we have to say, they will come, and they do. At the moment, we've got 7 schools across the south. William Gilpin School in Boulder is the school is the only school now that I actually work in, and that's because I'm so busy. I can't work in schools. It's not productive, and it means I can't support the wider community by being in school. So at William Gilpin School, I support by looking after a couple of kids who've got autism, definitely a child with a PDA profile. Some ADHD is thrown in there, which, you know, obviously the PDA is how I came to get to know you. The schools that invite me in and Archie in and see what we do, they're really grateful. And I've never had anything negative come, well, not to my face. I mean, who knows? I could be sat here and they could be moaning behind my back. I haven't had anyone moan about what we do. I know that we can be divisive because where I'm a TA, a SENDCO and a parent, I know if I'm trying to be fobbed off.
Yeah.
I know when the language is used to protect the school. And actually, I'm not here for that. I'm here for the child. So I'm not afraid to say no. This is not the law. I imagine as a school, you're either going to love us or hate us. But our intentions are always child-led. We want every child to get the education they deserve, the support they deserve, and to reach their own potential. That's a human right, isn't it?
It is, and I think it's the buzzword of the moment, isn't it? But we alluded to it a little earlier. But inclusivity, it's bandied around so much, and I think is something that's actually poorly understood. I think that we see inclusivity generally. People see inclusivity as, well, you should be entitled to do everything. But I think inclusivity is actually, no, it's rather than trying to force an individual into a world that's not fit for them, it's to make this world suitable for them to be a part of it. And when you look at inclusivity, everybody's on the same level, and that's where you should start. So what you're talking about with everything that you're doing, and I think what you've already sort of showed us with Archie's strength isn't maths, but in the mainstream system as it is, because he's not hitting that target, that's what's going to get heavily focused on. So that he comes out with this all-rounder.
Yeah, but then you're missing out on all the amazing talents, aren't you? It's weird.
This is it. And it's, you've got so many. I genuinely believe that we wouldn't have made 99% of the advances we've made in science, in philosophy, in understanding art and culture, were it not for neurodivergent individuals within that. When you look at the likes of Nikola Tesla, and you look at Einstein, and you look at Elon Musk, and even great comedians and stuff like Jerry Seinfeld is open.
Yes.
Dan Aykroyd, the actor, and Daryl Hannah, and you've got so many people who are now sort of coming out as neurodivergent, if you like. To borrow that term. We wouldn't have this if we weren't able to. Einstein himself was told, you're not going to announce to anything.
Hilarious. You imagine now, can you imagine now everything that we know because his brain worked differently? Literally world-changing stuff just because he worked differently to someone else. When I go into a school, when I talk to staff, the easiest way to show inclusivity, would we expect a child in a wheelchair to get up and play standing football with their peers? And normally the school will go, oh, you can't say that. No, of course I can't say that. It's ridiculous. And they're expecting neurodiverse people to fall in the box of neurotypical. That's just as ridiculous, right?
It's the curse of hidden disability,
isn't it?
Because they appear able to perform certain things, that's what they should be doing. And I think it's this misunderstanding. Inclusivity is bringing everyone to the same level. We're all trying to peer over a fence to watch a game of football. It's about adapting so that everybody can reach the top of that fence and have the same chance. So if you've got you're standing on a crate or you're standing on 2 crates, everybody gets that same opportunity. It's adapting the world to fit with the individual. You wouldn't expect this of somebody who is obviously not capable to achieve that. That's
and could you imagine the uproar if that was said? Could you imagine the uproar? Exactly. And yet actually parents of neurodiverse students hear worse than that. every single day. One of the terms that I hate with a passion, not for neurotypical students, I think it's a wonderful word, but for specifically with a child with autism, is that term resilience. They use the term resilience and they say, no, they need to grow resilience. They don't mean resilience. They mean they're trying to enforce that child with autism to repeatedly do something under their expectation of what is normal.
That's suck it up rather than
that's not acceptable. And that's what I mean about the football analogy. It's just as ridiculous.
It's an understanding that's there that, you know, I think we in this world come to understand, but I think the wider world, the neurotypical world, if you like, don't get it. Is that the damage that you force a kid? My example I love to use is assemblies at school. You get an entire school crammed into a hall, all the noise, all the break-in routine as everyone has to sort of pile in, sat in close quarters, they have to squeeze everybody in, all the noise, all the way, and then you've got to sit through this stuff, getting more and more uncomfortable because usually you're sitting on a fairly uncomfortable chair, or, you know, if you're in primary school.
Yeah, and touching the person next to you either side.
The audible, the visual. What is in the curriculum that says that an assembly is important? Absolutely nothing. So why aren't we just going, you know what, we're going to have a little library section that any of the kids who aren't, you know, deemed able to, you know, manage the sensory overload that is a school assembly, let's just have a quiet section in the library where you can go there for that and you can rejoin the class afterwards at an easy pace, and that way you're not having to go through all that process. These are little things that we can adjust that don't cost anything, and I know that whole thing with cost is something that you're quite strong on.
Yeah, and actually you've hit upon a really important point, and this is where, you know, some parents get very, very angry with schools. I don't, because having done both sides of it, the school do as they're told by the higher ups, right? Loads and loads of schools that we have spoken to, if I was to suggest to them about those children who don't like an assembly for whatever reason, go into the library, their comeback has often been regularly, oh yes, but that's not inclusive. They should be doing no. Taking that child out and meeting them at their need, show them the same assembly, of course, give them the same PowerPoint presentation, but let them sit in a room that they're comfortable in. Astonishingly, when I say that to them, they sort of look around as if to say, well, can we do that? Yes, you can do that. Take these children out for a brain break or a run around. They want to learn under their desk. Does it matter? I don't care. They're learning. But there's so many teachers that I think don't, it's not that they don't want to do it. If you give them permission to do it, they're like, God, brilliant. You know, they just don't know that they can. And that frustrates me. It brings me up actually into a point. It's a fact. I do like a fact. Do you like a fact?
I like a fact. I find it much more usable than theory.
Yeah.
It's a statistic that 99% of all statistics are made up.
Is there? Yeah. I hope none of yours are.
No.
None of mine are. I've got my trusted post-it note. This is the weirdest thing, right? So before I knew I was going to come and talk to you, and I thought I wanted to talk about some of the things that I don't understand, you know, some of the things that we support in schools that to me just seem to make sense, right? So I looked at what it actually takes to get a level 2 TA qualification, and it breaks down everything that you need to learn to get your qualification to support. And let's face it, most TAs will end up being one-to-one support. That's generally what TAs do, right? 15 hours of a 220-hour course, 15 hours are dedicated to equality, diversity, inclusion. And at first glance, I thought, okay, that's not bad. But guess what? That 15 hours is divided. So equality is 5 hours, diversity is 5 hours, inclusion is 5 hours. So they're going to learn about autism for 5 hours out of 210. But guess what's really got my goat? Guess how long they spend on display making?
I'm guessing 4 of that 5 hours.
15 hours.
Oh, good grief.
So they have dedicated on a TA course that gives you a level 2 qualification more time in how to pin up a display board than they have on equality, diversity and inclusion.
I had a fantastically interesting conversation with a lady who is a PDA who was also a teacher.
Yeah.
I'll put the link in the description. We were talking, and when she was going through her education degree, she wanted, because she knew she's a PDA, she knew she's autistic, she wanted to focus on the SEND element
Brilliant.
So she went for the extra part of that. What that means is she actually got double the amount of time spent that most teachers will get in their education degree focused on
Fantastic.
SEND. So she got 2 days, one of which was how to fill in paperwork.
2 days.
2 days out of a 3-year course was focused on SEND. And that was the double whack.
And here's the thing, right? Teachers, in my experience, teach because they love children. They teach because they are passionate about educating all children. But let's face it, teaching children who sit well behaved is easy, right? If that was teaching, then we could probably all have a go, right? If we had the right paperwork and if we had the right visual support, most people could probably teach quite effectively. The difficult, challenging part of teaching is trying to meet every child and trying to differentiate like the lesson for those who are falling behind, also for those who are excelling, making sure they're being pushed. Yeah. So isn't it unusual that that seems to be not really focused on then at all?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I mean, we were both at the Test Send show. It's where we met. And
yes, sorry about that, by the way.
For those who are, when I was sitting with both Peter Martin and Adam from the Grumpy Gits, who are both celebrities in their own right. It's PDA Dad, and it was like, whoa, hang on. But it was great. I loved it.
Really, the happiest moment of my weekend. Honestly, I was up. You know, they've got because it's at the Business Centre in London. For those of you who don't know, it's a beautiful building, isn't it? Amazing. And it's got like these inside balconies. So I was up filming, doing something for, I don't know, TikTok or Instagram. I don't know what it was. And I was doing my thing. This is going to sound unusual, but I'd gone to bed with you the night before because I'd been researching about how to support one of these gorgeous little lads with PDA Dad. And my husband knew what was coming because as I turned around and walked down the stairs, I grabbed his arm and went, oh my God, he's here. And I could see him not knowing what I was talking about, but the fear, he knew something was going to happen. And yeah, so I am really sorry about that. And actually, to Adam and Martin, I do want to say, I love you both. I think you're both awesome, absolutely awesome. But, you know, I was overcome. And the fact that we had Martin take our photograph, I bet that's never happened to me before.
I've been dining out on that ever since. But we were both there. We were both at the Test Send show. And a point that was made, I was in the leadership summit, and a point that somebody made was that if you're a teacher, you're a SEND teacher.
100%, yeah.
And that's it. Every teacher is a teacher of SEND at one level or another. And it seems like it's something that degrees and all this, that the educating the educators, that seems to be so behind. The Test Send show was a great example of seeing how many SENDCOs, how many teachers, TAs, education professionals want to learn this stuff. That's why they're going to this event. And the hunger's there, but the degrees and the education of the educators has got to catch up with this stuff.
It has. And it's a really difficult task because I'm sure you're the same. So like I spend a lot of my time, I spend all my day 9 to 5 online in some capacity, whether it's supporting a family, supporting a school, creating content or learning. So I spend full time all week learning. And even I go, oh, needed to write that down. It's constantly evolving, you know, what we're learning about, ways in which we can support our pupils, our families, our schools. It's constantly learning. So there is simply not enough training within school. Like schools will do their absolute utmost. Of course they will. They're there for the children. They're there because they love children. That's why they do what they do. But they don't have the opportunity to have like a constant flow. It's almost like we could do with a SEND, you know, like the SEND magazine do, right? It's almost like SEND magazine should just be given and almost enforced. This is what you must do once a month. You must read this, right? What you do with it's up to you, but you must read it. Because to me, we used to get emails about complete and utter nonsense. Like, oh, can you make sure the staff room kitchen is clean? No. I don't care that the sink in the staff room is dirty. Wash it up, man. Who needs to be told? But we need to learn about things that we don't know about.
Yes, that's what this kind of stuff, like what you're doing with Awesome Archie, what I do with this channel, all stems from the fact that we had to go out and learn it because we're forced into that situation because we're suddenly presented with kids who don't fit the typical paradigm that is what the world expects.
Yeah.
Once you start learning this stuff, it is just such a rich environment, that sort of hidden world that we magically appear in, and it's just a magic place. But it all comes from spending the time researching this stuff and wanting, because I think you'd agree with this. It's a mantra I now live by, which is, how do I make for my daughter tomorrow better than today? And if
absolutely.
chip away at that each day, we're going to have a world that starts being why we both do what we do. I think is that because that bleeds over to, well, the best way is because I want other people to be in the same position. If all neurodivergent people can be more comfortable and safe in the world around them and feel that, huge thing. You know, the goal I have with all of this, and I can see 100% the goal that you have is the same, which is we want to educate the people that wouldn't typically know about this stuff. I want this. I don't want just SEND parents and neurodivergent people to be viewing this. I want Joe Blogs, the average person out there who stumbles upon this and starts to get an insight into a world they don't understand. And the more we do that, we do it culturally. So many, you know, the way that we've become so much more accepting than we have been in the past, I think, is that we've started to learn about different cultures and different identities and all that kind of stuff. We need to do that with SEND. We need to do that with disability in general. And, you know, it's a stigma that we need to overcome.
It is. And it's about, well, and I know you do this with your daughter, it's changing her world to meet her needs, not changing her to meet the world. That's the barrier I come up against. Not school wise. I'm not talking about school now. I'm talking about general community wise. Archie is verbal, as you've heard. He's spoken to you. But when we're out and about, for example, when we go to the SEND show next year, I might bring him. He wouldn't talk to you in that circumstance. It's too much. But he will sign to you. And I think it's little pieces of information like that. You know, some people look at perhaps using signing or using PECs as a negative. Oh no, because people will stare at them. Yeah, do you know what? They might stare at them, but it's okay. You can ask, or you can look at someone and go, oh, okay, I don't know their situation, I'm just going to stay out of it. Like, I don't look at someone and try to analyze why they're doing what they're doing. Archie's taught me that just accept a person.
And that's exactly it. And meet them where they're at. You know, that's what inclusion is. It's meeting that person where they're at with the needs that they have at that point. And I think it comes down to this sort of judgmentalism that exists. If you can stop being judgmental and actually just open up to, you know, understanding that this is just their way of doing things. Stimming's a great example. Once you understand stimming, as long as it's not physically hurting themselves or somebody else, then there's no problem with it. Why do you need to stop and stare? Don't. Just walk on by. It's just somebody stimming. And they're the cost-free things that we can do that really make life so much easier, not just for the individual themselves, but I mean, for me as a parent, if my daughter's having a meltdown, which has happened in public, you know, supermarkets when a shoe's being lobbed across a supermarket, people are going
which is always nice as a parent, isn't it?
But you know, if she's just having a moment, if she's having one of those things where she's, you know, you can see it coming, it's like, and then don't walk by looking, you know, just maybe she's neurodivergent, move on. Don't create
exactly
more than is needed.
It's remembering the feelings as well of us parent carers, because nobody loves that child that's having a meltdown and kicking off more than the person that they're probably being kicked off to. We've already got it tough. You know, this isn't because we're not great parents. There's not enough structure. Oh, that child needs some discipline. No, it's because our children, thank God, are born beautifully different. And we have to accept that they are the way they are. And I'm grateful. I cannot imagine. Oh, I say this quietly. I can't imagine how boring Archie would be if he was just neurotypical. Like,
I spoke to Ashley Blaker, who is he's an author of a book called Normal Schmormal, but he's one of the writer producers behind Little Britain. He's got 6 neurodivergent kids, but he says he's got a house full of zappers. Where the world could be Coldplay. It's like, it's nice, it's okay, it's palatable, it's nice in the background. But who wants to be a Coldplay when you can be a Zappa?
And what they bring to your life, and the colour and the adventure and the education. I was never like at school, because I've got ADHD, but obviously back in my day I was just a knob. They didn't really like me. Like, it was just the child. I'm sure there's a more professional way of saying that, but you know what I mean. I was that kid. But I've now learned that because of Archie, it's like, oh my God, I've got ADHD. So now I've opened the book of all the things that I thought were weird and failings. Actually, it's my ADHD that's made me good at my career. Yeah. Because I've got a hyper focused, I'm monotropic, I am enormously and annoyingly driven. And I'm not afraid to say no. I'm not going to stand for this. This is not fair on these children. We need to buckle up, change it, you know?
I think that's the perfect place to leave this on. And that's the world we want to see. And what I was always, obviously, people are going to be interested in what Awesome Archie is all about. Where can they find you online?
So we've got a website, which is www.awesomearchie.co.uk. And on that website, there are links to everything that we do. And we do a myriad of things. We create resources that are just downloadable printables. So mental health stuff, little colouring pages, I am awesome, you know, what I like about myself, that kind of thing. You can just download that for free. As long as you've got printer ink, you're good to go. It's got links to our YouTube, our TikTok, our Instagram. TikTok is not for the children, just to be clear. TikTok is for the parent carers who are a little bit tired, like me. But the Facebook private group, we accept everyone, but we keep it private because we talk about intimate things without sounding pretentious. Just Google Awesome Archie. We're all over it. We're lucky to do what we do and have amazing support. And I should say at this point, thank you to you, not only for what you do to help me, but for this amazing opportunity. And the Grumpy Gits rule, by the way. Oh my God, I've wasted hours with the Grumpy Gits now. It's ridiculous. I've literally got nothing done since I met you.
We will put links in the description to the Awesome Archie website, and you can follow everything on from there. We'll also put a link in for the Awesome Archie YouTube channel, so please do go and subscribe to them. They're fantastic. I will see you again on the next episode. Rebecca, thank you so much, and a thank you to Archie. You can accept this on you when you're watching it back later, but thank you for joining us earlier on. It meant a lot.
It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll see you again on the next episode. In the meantime, please do stay safe.